interview just a short time ago with Ray Hadley.
My approach, but on the issues of religion, on the issues of faith, I will not be bullied by anyone when it comes to my religion or my faith.
Well, Minister...
And I haven't finished yet. I will not be bullied when it comes to my religion or faith. I was not bullied when I was stopping the boats by people smugglers. I won't be bullied by anybody in this place or outside this place. I'm my own man. I went into politics to make a difference. I'll serve the Australian people to the best of my ability, and any Prime Minister who asks me to do any job knows that I will do it with heart and soul.
Mr Morrison,
Do you accept that after a very bruising interview that you've got quite a lot of your colleagues offside? Some of them think that you could have wielded the power needed to keep Tony Abbott as Prime Minister. Do you accept that?
Well, I've already gone into those issues in the interview you referred to, and I have no plans of going over those things again. There was an opportunity to discuss those in those interviews today, which I did. I answered those questions. I think you would agree quite honestly and quite directly, and that led to some pretty robust debate. And I'm going to leave that there, and I'm sure you'll all write what you want to write, and that's up to you.
Mr Morrison, if Ray Hadley's a bully, will you boycott that program? Will you return?
I'm sure after the dust settles and the moods change and all the rest of it, if he wishes to extend me an invitation, then I'm sure we'll talk on another occasion. I may well be busy on Monday, and I suspect beyond that, people who've had good relationships always try and work on rebuilding those relationships, and that's the sort of bloke I am, and I suspect that's the sort of bloke Ray is, and we'll see where we go from there. I'm a forgiving sort of person. I know he is too.
Minister, you said you wouldn't be bullied when it came to issues about your faith. Why then, by the end of that interview, did you say if Ray insisted you would swear on the Bible? Why not stick to your guns and say you wouldn't be part of that stunt?
I didn't believe he would insist on it, and the point he was trying to make was that I wasn't prepared to swear an oath on the things that I was saying. Now, if that's what it took for him and our friendship, I was disappointed, really disappointed that he would insist on that. And he didn't want to insist on that, and so the interview, I assume, was terminated for that reason, because I think he probably understood he'd overstepped the line when it came to religion and faith.
So
my yes is my yes, my yes is yes, and my no is no, but my judgment was that Ray wasn't going to try and insist on such a stunt. That has no relation to, what I was saying. I mean, what I said, I meant. What I said is exactly as I described the situation, and that was the facts.
Just to clarify, on Friday, you said that on Friday you'd raised issues or a warning to the Prime Minister's office. What sparked that? What did you warn them?
Well, and I was in this building for the week. You were all in this building for the week as well. You could have probably rung the Prime Minister's office and said the same thing.
Do you think he listened?
Pardon?
Did he listen to what you had to say?
I don't know.
In that interview, Minister, you said that Ray was questioning you quite strongly about whether you spoke to several people, including Wicks. You said you didn't, but then during the same interview you said you actually did. So were you lying, or did you have a...
Well, I don't know what you're referring to.
He said that he asked you whether
I told people... He was asking whether I asked them from memory, as whether I'd tried to, tell them how to vote, and I told them how I was going to vote, and I did have that. I mean, after I had the meeting with the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister, I'd say on Monday, and told him that I wouldn't be taking on that role of deputy leader because it just didn't make sense to me. I don't think it had been well thought through. And it broadened the conflict within the party, and I didn't want to see that happen, and raised other issues which really weren't at issue in terms of that contest. And I said I would be making it clear how I'd be voting and voting for Tony Abbott. And I rang David Spears and I told him what I was doing, and that's how I was able to communicate with people.
You said the Prime Minister threw Joe Hockey under a bus. That's a pretty tough thing to say. Did you ring Joe Hockey after that meeting and tell him?
I went and saw Joe Hockey and I told him that I wouldn't be taking the position after I'd told the Prime Minister that.
What was his reaction?
Well, you'd have to leave that to Mr Hockey.
Ray Hadley also read out a number of text messages this week suggesting that you were the source of the story in the Daily Telegraph on Friday with the hit list of ministers. Were you the source of that story?
No, that's ridiculous. I mean, Simon Benson and I know each other quite well. I think you all know that. And Simon Benson would know that I would have no idea what the former Prime Minister was going to do with any cabinet reshuffle. Now, which of you would write a story based on a source that had no idea what was going to happen? Which, that was my turn to ask a question. No show of hands. Okay.
Minister, was there actually a Bible?
I'm glad you've all endorsed Simon Benson's integrity.
Minister, was there actually a Bible in the studio?
No, there wasn't. There wasn't one there. And, you know, honestly, this is a tough place, but, you know, we don't have to resort to that sort of stuff.
You're accusing the former Prime Minister of disloyalty to Joe Hockey. Is that?
No, I'm just telling you what happened. You can...
You said in the interview
Well,
that he's one of his great strengths is his loyalty.
That's right, and I didn't understand. That's why I said I don't think the proposition had been well thought through, and obviously it had been brought together in haste, given the events. But I had no issue with Julie Bishop, and I had no issue with Joe Hockey. Yes.
What about floated? Did anyone else, such as the Chief of Staff, float that? Did anyone else, such as the former PM's Chief of Staff, float that idea previously?
No.
Minister, what do you mean by it wasn't well thought out? What part of it wasn't well thought out? What's wrong with you taking on that job?
Well, Mr Abbott had expressed absolute confidence and loyalty to Joe Hockey. So why would he have changed Joe Hockey to me?
Well, to save his job, right?
Well, I don't see the consistency in that approach, and I don't see how that would have actually worked out the day after. And I think decisions through. I think through the consequences of decisions and the impact on the party and its unity. And as I said, it was a very distressing event that took place on Monday night. But as I was saying to Ray, football coaches lose their job, the players turn up and get on with training the next day. And radio bosses come and go, and the broadcasters turn up every day. And they go back to work and they go to air. It happens with CEOs and boards, and people, you know, turn up at Woolies the next day or Coles and they do their job. And that's what you've seen from the government this week. It was a tumultuous change on Monday night, and that has caused obviously a lot of ruptions, particularly out in the community. But you know what really concerns me about all this? Australians have been, and I said this yesterday in the press conference, Australians have been sitting at home going, well, what does this all mean for me? And I said yesterday, that's what I'm worried about. That's why I went on Ray this morning, because they had some concerns about this and they wanted to put the matter to rest, and I was very happy to do that.
Morrison.
But my concern is their job. I'm concerned about their family. I'm concerned about the things that they're having to work through. Frankly, what's happening in Canberra to us here, and whether people lose their job or keep their job as a politician, couldn't matter to anyone sitting out there worrying about their job or their situation or their kids. And so that's where my focus is. I have no doubt that's where the Prime Minister's focus is, and I have no doubt that is where the focus of my colleagues really are. So I understand there's a lot of interest in all of this, but frankly, it's the end of the week. I've answered the questions as honestly and openly as I possibly can. I'm disappointed that interview took that direction at the end. It is disappointing, but, you know, stuff happens. We build a bridge and we get over it, don't we? Thank you very much.
Morrison.